Imagine you're a parent with a spouse, 3 children in high school and college. You run your own small business helping other small businesses, and suddenly you're thrust into the middle of a pandemic, and nothing is as you planned in both your personal and business life. Those are the facts that thousands of people have faced this year. Join me today as we talk with April Heavens-Woodcock about her personal family and small business challenges during COVID-19. Hi, this is Bob Poole. Welcome to the Water Cooler Hangout. For over 40 years, I've been helping people like you grow and prosper. Please join me and guests like Seth Godin, Guy Kawasaki, Lauren Cordain, Beverly and Tim Walden, Phil Elmore, and more as we share real-life stories about sales, marketing, leadership, creativity, and current events. Need help in moving to the next level? Find out how others have done it by listening to the Water Cooler Hangout. Hi everyone, this is Bob Poole, and I'm here today with April Heavens-Woodcock. Hi April, how are you doing?
Hi, Bob. Good. I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Water Cooler Hangout.
I love it.
My new sound effect, I had to use. You're the first person I've used it on, I think. So.
All right.
So, anyways, we're going to talk today about a few things. One, I want to know: have you been an entrepreneur your whole life?
In some level, yes, I have. I would say for a better part of my life, yes. I can say officially more than half my life at this point.
How old were you when you started your first business, if I might ask?
Yeah, so we started, so actually it's my husband and I really that have done a lot on the entrepreneurial side. And I should preface this with, I grew up with a father that was an entrepreneur. So, it kind of, it passed the completely different where I ended up. But, and I would say I was about 22 was my first business, and it was called Now You're Cooking.
Oh, and what was that?
That was my husband and I. So have you ever heard of Blue Rhino?
Yes.
Okay. So
propane tanks.
excuse me. So this was before Blue Rhino. And we decided we were going to do home delivery of propane tanks. Mm-hmm. So we bought our first car. It was a red carpet lease, one of those Ford Rangers. Mm-hmm. And my husband took a big piece of plywood and cut out holes, measured them for these propane tanks, and we would deliver and exchange at your home a propane tank. So you never had to go and get it yourself, and we'd go deliver it. And then he learned how to replace all of the kind of the guts of a gas grill, would replace all the goods inside, whether it was the igniter or the elements. And then we were working with a propane dealer that we would collect it from. And so kind of what we did was a collaboration where we actually set up pilots with the cages at gas stations. So we had like 3 or 4 gas stations going down towards Cape Cod that we would go fill up and drop off and exchange. And yeah, that was our first business.
Oh, what a great idea. And the first Blue Rhino.
It was. And it was one of those things where we were saving for our house. And so we were getting married and we were saving for a house. We saved enough money for our house. And really what ended up happening, kind of what was the insurance. The insurance, like for us to take it to the next level, we just didn't have the money at the time to put towards the insurance and do what we needed to do, which was kind of too bad because, it's one of those things where if we had known more about running a business at the time, I think we would have just kind of jumped off that cliff and, I'd be sitting in Barbados in my beautiful house on the beach right now.
Right. Well, all of us, yes, we would. Well, I know April from Dotto Tech, Steve Dotto. April is Steve's right-hand person and is the community manager for the Gray Wave and probably a few other things that she does there. So I know that you have your own business still. So you and your husband still have a company. So you started this first one, the propane thing in college. And here you are today doing the same thing. Only now you did get married and you did buy that house. And there's kids around too, right?
A few since then and a few businesses in between, but yes,
What, you have like 3 children, right?
we do. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
3 children. I have 19, 18, and 13.
Okay. And they're in school, I assume.
They are actually one just graduated high school and is starting school in January, but yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So, how are you handling then? Because I want to know this. How do you handle all these things during COVID and the pandemic? All these things are coming together. You have to run a business. You have a family. You've got all the things involved with that, with school. You've got a child in college, and suddenly there's a pandemic. What do you do?
So, I think one of the things because we are a marketing agency and we have our own home office, we worked from home for a long time. So the transition from working in an office to home probably wasn't as prevalent for us. However, I part of what I do is some outside trainings and then obviously meeting with clients in person. So that changed the dynamic. So then we were home all the time. Um, and in terms of the kids, we went from a pretty abrupt, my daughter was in her first year of college. And when the pandemic hit, she came home for what would be spring break. And then she never went back. So that was, it was a hard stop. And it was hard, from her perspective, because she had just really started, she liked school. She didn't like it at first. She just was adjusted and now it stopped. My middle is he was a senior, so he missed all his senior events. So that was a challenge and kind of dealing with that and kind of the unknown of graduation for him because it never really was a great graduation. It was we went to a baseball park and they did it on the big screen and it was pouring rain out and it was just not. And then my youngest, he goes to Catholic school and they were very ill prepared for online learning. So, and then all of a sudden, we're all home, family of 5 all the time. There's no sports, there's nothing other than online learning. And the other thing in a part of our business that the unknown of what was happening with our clients and kind of where they were going. I mean, most of our clients that we have were I don't want to say we're fortunate in the sense that COVID did not hurt their businesses because like it's an insurance company, things like that where their services were still needed, which means our services were still needed. But yeah, the kind of the being home, I think, and I would imagine for many, it's not even just about all the transitions, but that feeling of, oh my gosh, like what is happening in the world? Because I feel like we were all kind of glued to the TV and work kind of came to this slow pace, not because of anything, just because it was, I don't know, this thing nobody was prepared for.
Right, right. And I should mention too that April just got off hosting a 1 hour long webinar that I was attending. I didn't have to do anything but sit there and smile and wasn't on the screen. And I watched her host this for an hour and then had some conversations with the people that were still there, and then jumped on here. So, and was that your first webinar or online thing today or not?
I've had some online meetings today. So
Right?
yeah,
No.
but and I would say you actually bring up a great point to COVID. So a lot more is online. And so,
Right.
a lot more Zoom meetings, a lot more face-to-face video calls than ever before. And I feel like one of the things that I have found has changed with certain clients is that literally we get on a Zoom call and we work together. Like I'm working on something, they're working on something, and we're on a call. So it's almost like even though we can't touch, feel, and kind of be near somebody, you're still working with them in that capacity where there's kind of, you can see the whites of their eyes.
So are people getting used to it, do you think, or are they on my end? I was going to
Are
say
you getting
here,
used to it?
no, no, I'm not getting used to it. As a matter of fact, I'm getting kind of fed up with it. And suddenly that's just sort of happened in the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure. I think the fall season has had something to do with that with me, the changing of the seasons. I'm looking at the calendar, I'm looking, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I'm like, oh, come
Right.
on now. We've got to get past this soon. So yes, in my case, no, I'm not real happy with, with things.
Well, and you bring up a great point because in the spring when it happened, happened, we knew that we were going to be outside soon because summer was coming, right? So there was more activities. So at this point, we know that we're going to be inside more, and that, whether hopefully it won't be an overly snowy winter, overly cold, icy winter, because then we're really homebound. And I do think that the worst part about COVID has, whether you worked at home before, you worked in an office, is it's given us, we've lost our choice to leave our house, choice to do the things that we like to do.
Right.
And I think that's it's depressing, quite frankly. It can be very depressing because, even though we've worked from home for a long time, the difference is we can't do things like we have to really second guess, or you have to leave the house with a mask, and you got masks all over the place, and you got to think about where you're touching and hand sanitize. It's just very different world that we live in.
Yeah, it is. It's, I think it's getting old for a lot of people. My wife is a very social person, and she worked from home she's been with the same company for 20 years, but the last couple of the years she worked from home, and then the company was sold, and the new company hired her for the same position, but they wanted her to commute to an office. So she commutes to an office 45 minutes away. It's an office of one. It's just her.
Oh,
So,
that's hard. So she's better off staying home.
right, and it's a big office building too, and the office building is empty. I mean, it's kind of a little crazy for her. Now she says it's fine. But I notice whenever we do have people over, it becomes pretty much nonstop talk on her part. And I just smile, and once in a while I'll say, "Take a breath, honey."
Yeah, believe me, my family is all tired of me talking too. I mean, I talk a lot to begin with, but then, yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's talk about. You said none of your clients were really impacted, so that's good in terms of none of them had to go out of business or anything like that.
No, no one had to go out of business. If anything, we have a medical. We have a medical practice that actually went, and they were very in tune to switching immediately to telehealth. So that increased, and they were kind of ahead of the curve in their industry. So they did very well. And actually, they even reached out. We were lucky. Our teenagers ended up with a job during COVID because they were that busy, and they just didn't really have the capacity to hire people because they couldn't bring them in, and train them and stuff. And because we had worked with them, we had an idea of how their business was run. But yeah, I would say for the most part, I would say the retail, we have a retail client that I would say they had to make some pretty big changes because they had to now offer really much more delivery. So they're kind of like a farm and feed store, but it's needed, right? Because they cater to like the farming market. But they had to kind of readjust how they were going to deliver their goods and really limit people in the store. And at one point they actually closed down at the store and just said, we will bring it out to you. And, had to kind of reshuffle in how they were going to do that and collect payments and things like that.
Yeah, our retail clients and also any of the restaurants all shut down for a while. In fact, in our whole, and I don't have a ton of clients, but I have enough over the years that they're still with me that I have to say that I think out of all of them, only 2 were deemed as being essential. And so here for the first, I think 3 months at least, they were shut down. They just really could not work. So then finally they opened up the other ones, and they're converting. Some of them are converting to online, which is something that you do. You help people get online, correct? Get their businesses online.
We do. So my business name is Touching Clients, and we are a small agency, and we help small to medium-sized businesses with their digital strategy, footprint, and kind of from foundation through execution to management. So yeah, and it's really based on their needs and kind of building blocks into meeting their goals and objectives.
So have any of your clients had to adjust their marketing and sales because of this? I mean, other than the fact that it shut them down for a while, have they actually gone more online then?
I would say from a medical practice perspective, yes, they've gone much more online. So now they're using more tools to streamline some of their automating some of those processes where they didn't do that before. We have a client that's in the insurance industry that's very kind of on the old school side. So they've had to kind of readjust how they manage their clients and stuff from home, because they're very much like a brick and mortar business where everybody goes to work from 8:30 to 4:30 every day. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think there was some learning curves of having to do more online, without a doubt. And the other thing too, I honestly, for some, it was just really the video communications. They never used Zoom before, they never used Google Meet, and they never used these tools, and that was also a big adjustment. We have a nonprofit that we work with, and they rely heavily on donations, and they really started to, we worked with them to show them how to use Zoom and be able to offer some educational stuff to stay in front of people, to try to, because again, they're in the middle of renovating a huge building, and they have a capital campaign going. It's for veterans, and that's been, they are very event driven, and all those events have been canceled. I think maybe they've had 2 this year. So they've had to rely a lot on online stuff. And then they also, because they cater to veterans and families of veterans, there's been a huge need for food and stuff like that. So they've had to kind of readjust and prioritize their marketing efforts to get what they need to be able to deliver to the people that they service.
Yeah, I have a friend who has been on the water cooler before. It's been a while, and she actually does consulting for nonprofits, and has run some big events. And I think she did one time the whole thing in New Orleans, Mardi Gras or something like that. It was, it was some
that's
stuff really
fun.
big. Yeah,
That's a good client to have.
oh yeah, she loved it. She said. So she's done presidential things, and so she's interesting. Written some books. So I see she's doing a lot of posting constantly on Facebook now, and for other people, trying to get the word to the nonprofits that are out there. There are other ways to get donations. So I'm trying to repeat and share as much as I can her content. So anyways, do you talk to any other non-client small businesses? Is that something that you do?
So I do, I have not done, I used to do a lot of webinar trainings. And I would say, more so since COVID started, I have done less. I probably haven't done any outside of the scope of work that I've been working with my clients, now that I'm actually saying that out loud. But yeah, but yes, I've done a lot of work in the past with SCORE, in terms of business mentorship, and offered, and did a lot of trainings both in person and online. And then also, for almost 7 years, I worked with the University of Hartford at their entrepreneurial center, catering to startups and small businesses, and I actually was there once or twice a week doing trainings of building blocks of, from business planning, creating marketing strategies, to all pieces of digital marketing, all social media channels, kind of website, things to think about in terms of building your business and SEO. Because a lot of times in the small business world, they don't have the means to hire somebody, right? So they really need to learn some of the things that are going to help them to get to the place in their business where they may want to hire somebody for certain services.
I miss those casual kind of meetings where you would maybe be at a conference like that, or at the center where you did some speaking, the casual afterwards where you could just sit
Yes.
around and talk,
Yes.
maybe at the bar or whatever, where the real truth comes out and you get to talk about each other's businesses. I
Yeah.
miss that a lot. And I worry because the latest figure I saw was like 164,000 small businesses have closed due to the
It's
pandemic.
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
And they say now, again, these statistics out and who's putting them together. I can tell you, I found it on Yelp, so I'm not sure, but that's their number. And they also said that 60% of those will not be reopening. So that's 100,000 that say they will not be reopening. And here we are, we're still in the middle of this pandemic, and we're entering into winter, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned about small business. It's the backbone of the country. And if they go, each time a small business closes, the employees are hurt, the suppliers are hurt, everyone, it just cascades. And I don't know what to do to help them other than maybe shop local.
I think shop local. I think if you are on social media, share their information. I think that, if you are on Amazon, there is small businesses on Amazon selling. Look and make an effort to, and there's small businesses that are offering part of Prime. So that's one of the things is shipping. Like, are you going to wait 20 weeks for shipping? There is small businesses to buy from. If you're mindful and you look for them, that'll make a difference. For nonprofits, they have Amazon Smile, where you can actually change your dashboard to support a charity that's near and dear to you. Although they don't get a ton of money from it, if a lot of people are doing that, it's a way of giving back, and it's helping them because they get, I believe they might get credits to purchase things for their nonprofit, or they also get cash back. Right. And I think sharing is all that you can do. And if you do buy local and you are a social butterfly on social media, take a picture of it, tag that business of what you bought. If you had great service, leave a review. The more that you can look at ways to support businesses in the community, the better off we all are, right? Because small businesses make this country run. And I think, the powerful brands, and we all buy from them, it's kind of, I feel like sometimes because they're so in your face and marketing to you all the time, it's a mindset. You need to think about shopping local and supporting your local restaurants and your local mom and pop shops, the community stores. Like, to do that. And the other thing too is that if it comes down to pricing, you can always ask and say, hey, you know what? I can get it here for this price. They might say, I can't do that, but I can take, $5 off, because support your local community.
No, I totally agree. And I am very happy you mentioned Amazon Smile. I keep, I don't forget about them because I've been using them for years. And the one charity that I, designated, I know they've done very well. It's an animal rescue kind of charity, and I know they've done very well with it because they publish the numbers. So yeah, so people that are listening, Amazon Smile, just Google it, or search it on something. And Google got sued today, so
They did?
the government's sued them today. So.
Yeah, if you search Amazon Smile, it will bring you to the link where you can actually, keep this in mind though, the nonprofit has had to have registered with Amazon. So if for whatever reason your nonprofit, if it's a local one, they might not even know that's available. It doesn't take much for them to register, but they'll have to register for you to be able to support them in your purchasing on Amazon.
Yeah, very good. Very good. I'm glad you brought that up. So, what do you think the future holds then for small businesses?
I think the future holds, as I said, I think small business is the foundation of our country. And I think that we will rise again for those, there's always new startups coming. There's lots of new ideas, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic and there's lots of negatives to it. There's also lots of positives, and anyone that's an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur at heart, has some idea up their sleeve for a new idea. And this is a time where there's a lot of thinking going on, and that it might just be the time to start a new business. So I think that you'll continue to see small businesses pop up. The ones that are already in business, they're definitely going to need to look to pivot. And I think it'll be harder for the ones that, whenever I run into a business that says, I don't need to market, right? And I have, and I'm sure you have in your travels, Bob, where I don't need to market. I get all of my business through referrals. Right. Referrals are wonderful, and having a client base and retaining those clients is super important, but don't ever stop marketing. And marketing doesn't need to be about selling your product all the time. It could be about value that you're giving back to your community. Stay in front of people. Make sure that you're top of mind awareness, so they know that, oh, you know what? I saw, that's right. Bob does this. Why don't I call Bob? Use the power of just providing value to your audience to make sure that you stay in front of them. But I do think small business is here to stay. But I think small businesses that have been in business just need to pivot a little bit. The restaurant industry is a little bit different. However, I have seen in my local community, they have done a ton of pivoting to online ordering. People that did not deliver before have teamed up with Grubhub and hired drivers and have done a lot of different things. Grocery stores, right? Even
Right.
local grocery stores, not even the big brands, they now have, come pick it up. They've done online ordering. So it's just really thinking creatively or outside of the box and ask for help. There's so much valuable content online that has great ideas for, to try something, to make sure that you stay in business. And, one of the things too is that I know us as a small business, usually at the end of the year, we look at kind of all those little expenses where you kind of sign up for something and you're paying $5.99 here, or you're paying this. And, it might be a time where you just kind of look at some of those expenses and see what you can kind of get off your plate, like that software that you never used this year.
Right. Well, there's a lot of those out there.
There
I mentioned to
is.
someone the other day, I need to add up all the $24, $25 a month apps that I have out there.
Right, right. Or even on your phone,
Right.
sometimes I bought an app and then I'm like, what's this? 29.99. Oh, it's my annual renewal that I
Hmm.
probably knew when I did it, but I just forgot about it because I don't use it.
Yeah. And I give, kudos to the companies that at least let you know they're about to bill you, so you can determine
Yes,
whether
it's
or
the
not you.
worst when they don't.
Yeah, it's the ones that don't say a thing that really kind of irritate me at times.
Yes.
So,
And then they won't give you your money back,
oh
even though
no.
you didn't use it. So you're hooked for another year, but you cancel or the next month.
Then
Yes.
they go on my calendar. Trust me. So,
Exactly, exactly. Actually, my cable company is on my calendar every time my package is about to expire.
right. So, sort of to wrap this up, but you began your first business in college with your husband. I started mine also at a very young age, and we've both been kind of doing this our whole lives, and we love it. It's what we do, right? What about the kids that are in their 20s and 30s now? What do you see? Are they the same of the same mind? You had an entrepreneurial father. My father was not. He worked in a steel mill, one job his whole entire life. But my mother, though, on the other hand, was a salesman and salesperson for a shoe company, and so she was the greatest salesperson I've ever met. So I think I got some of my desire to sell and market from her. So what about the kids that are today?
I think one of the things with kids today is that if they think that they want to go into any type of business, that they really think about just taking even SCORE, right? SCORE offers kind of creating a business plan or getting started with a business. Take the time and just get to know if this is something that you want to do. Because when you take the step to go into business, I think one of the things that a lot of times people think, oh, well, you're in business for yourself. So you have flexibility, or you make all this money, or you do all these things. And it's one of those things where there's lots of hills, mountains, and there's lots of valleys along the way, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things where, you know, being an entrepreneur or going into business for yourself, educate yourself along the way. Just don't jump in and kind of sink or swim. Not that that doesn't work for some people, but take the time and learn the foundational stuff and what you need to do to set yourself up for success. Because I think if you don't, the valleys come way quicker than the peaks, right?
Right. Right.
But and I think it's kind of funny because when you talk about, like, thinking back, I don't remember whether or not I said I was going to be an entrepreneur or whatever. My father, he was in tool and die, so completely different, right? And I look at my kids, and my daughter has never wanted to do anything with our business. However, she is actually in a communications major. She's a social media ambassador at school. She's come out and volunteered at social media marketing. Like, she's in, but she also has an insight to the background of business, right? So like today she called me and she's like, you're working. I can tell you're not listening to me, because there's times where I just, I'm in work mode. Whereas, there's times where I'm like, hang out with me. I want to come hang out. So for for young people, I would just say, just do some research and your due diligence and see if there's an opportunity for whatever your idea is, to be able to execute it. Because there is some places where people think that they have, that it's an easy marketplace, and it's not. It might be very overcrowded, but you might bring a creative touch to add something new to something that's already in a creative, overcrowded market.
Good. I think that a lot of kids out there, if they come from parents like you or me, both of my kids are in business of their own and
Nice.
have been most of their lives. I think that they still will be interested in starting their own small businesses. I think so. It may be later for some of them. They might not do it until their 30s. But
And that's okay.
yeah.
That's okay.
Sure.
I mean, we've encouraged our middle. He is working, but we've encouraged him to. He's definitely the kid that I could see having his own business because of his personality, the way that the structure that he likes in his life.
Okay.
He would be a great entrepreneur,
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you just need an idea.
sometimes he just needs an idea, right? And he doesn't need his parents to give him the idea.
I get that. All right. Well, it's been great talking with you today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. And, one of the biggest things that I love in talking to you and like you said earlier is, meeting small business owners and talking and learning about how their story, because it's all about your story in some way, how you came to be. And sometimes it's, the journey, it may have taken you 40 years to get to here to start your business, or maybe you've been an entrepreneur like us and had these ideas, and buying domains forever since you were in college.
Yes. Well, we all have our bunch of domains, don't we?
We do. We sure do.
That's another one of the things to go through the
Yes.
list and,
And
get
there's
rid
always
of.
a story behind each one. In some level, there's a story behind each domain and why, and then how it never came to fruition.
Yeah, well, I will tell you very quickly. I did open up my GoDaddy domains one time, and I looked, and I'm like, "What is this?" And there was a domain in there that I had registered. I have absolutely no idea how I came up with the name, why I chose it, what I was thinking, and maybe alcohol was involved at the time. I don't.
That's usually, I would say, if I look in my GoDaddy account, I could attest that 75% are definitely wine-related
Yes,
conversations.
there we go.
And then the second one behind that first one was probably 2 glasses of wine and why we needed the second one to go with the first one.
There you go. Well, on that note, it's time. It's about wine time right now, in fact.
It is. Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, April. Talk to you soon.